Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello, friends. What's up? First, thanks for coming on my YouTube channel, Think Big, Learn Smart. Today, the topic of our discussion is fascism, and we are going to discuss about its following components. We are going to discuss about its history, what is the concept of fascism, what are its basic tenets of fascism, what are its characteristics, its advantages, few of the advantages that I have discussed here, and its relevance in the present time. So let's start our today's discussion. First of all, we will start with the history, and there are many definitions of fascism. Some describe it as a political action, set of political actions. Some describe it as a political philosophy or a mass movement against a particular enemy. So, fascism is commonly associated with the German Nazis and Italian regimes after the World War One, and German Nazi Party of the Hitler and Benito Mussolini's in Italy, and similar fascist regimes of Spain and Argentine are well-known fascist leaders of the 20th century. So that was a brief history of fascism, and now let's start with the concept of fascism. What is fascism? Fascism is a Italian word that comes from fascio, which means a bundle of people connecting together in unity. Its origin can also be traced from the ancient Rome, when the fasces was a bundle of wood with an axe head carried by the leaders. So its origins are quite way back in the past. So fascism is a form of government that is a type of one party dictatorship. So it's a one party dictatorship. There is a totalitarian regime in a fascist country, and it its main aim is to prepare the nation for the armed conflict against a common enemy. And facing the economic difficulties, fascists put nation often race above the individual, like it happened in the German Nazi Party. Hitler called the Germans the far superior race than any race that existed at that time. So they are a sort of ultra nationalist. There are a few tenets of fascism, and I have listed few of them. And one of them is they are extreme right-wing political ideology. And right wing means it's in the political spectrum. It belongs to the far right, and in on the political spectrum, the far left is communism, where the basic power belongs to the people of the nation rather than one leader. So there is a contrast in both of these ideologies. So another tenet of fascism is its ultra nationalist, nation as being the highest importance. Another tenet of fascism is its authoritarian, as we talked about earlier, that in the fascism there is one strong leader that dictates the whole nation, and they believe in a rebirth in a sense that the leader talks about that the nation is in the moral and social decay, so they have to gain their moral glory again, and they have to achieve that formal glory. And in before the Second World War, what happened was that the Hitler gave the idea of killing all the Jews because they were responsible for their moral and social decay. So Hitler decided to kill all them so that they can gain their former glory of the past. But it was a very bad concept. Few of the characteristics of fascism are its obsession with national security. They are finding the enemies and reasons behind their decay. So they are obsessed with their national security. They want to strengthen their nation and their identification of enemies scapegoat as a unifying cause, as it happened in the history. They blame some enemy and their focus tends to move toward that single enemy, and then they move all their forces against that enemy so that they can achieve their former glory. Religion and government is intertwined. Labor power is suppressed, and these all characteristics are connected. Labor power is suppressed means human rights are not given in the fascist country. So there is disdain for human rights, and there's also a disdain for democracy, because democracy is a human right as well. Peoples have their own right to choose their own government, and if the strong leader is on the power, why would he or she will give its power to another nation, to another person that will come from the people's choice? So there are no rights in a fascist country or in the fascism. So there is a supremacy of military, as in the past we have seen all the fascist leaders belong to the military background. So there is a kind of supremacy of the military, as it's controlling everything, because there is obsession with national security in the fascism. There are also few advantages of fascism, because the peoples are connected under the umbrella of a single leader. So there is a kind of centrally planned economies that can mobilize a large scale projects and do anything very quickly. They can recover very quickly, like it happens with the Soviet Union, as it defeated the German Nazi party after the World War II, and they regained their strength quite quickly because they were under the single umbrella of a Soviet leader. So this is the advantage of fascism. Let's move on to the fascism's relevance in the present time. So fascism is a concept that is not that much famous right now, but the fascist term is usually now used as pejoratively by political opponents to disdain their enemies and to win the political war that is going on, to win the elections and all these kind of things. So fascists believe in the mobilization of society under a totalitarian one party regime. Their economies are mixed economy. They want to achieve self-sufficiency Turkey, which means self-sufficiency in economic, and their policies are mostly towards protectionist and interventionist economic policies. So in today's time, whenever someone is advocating for protectionist and interventionist policies, it is labeled as a fascist leader. So the term is mostly used as a label rather than the party identifying itself as a fascist party, but rather as a term against the enemy to hit him in another way. So the descriptions of neo-fascist or post-fascist are sometimes applied more formally to describe parties of far right with ideologies similar to or rooted to 20th century fascist movement. So from that line we can understand that it is mostly now used as just a label to hit the opponents, and not a single party identifies itself as a fascist party, as that was the case in the past. So that was all about the fascism concept. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz. Take care of yourself.